On today's Outside the Box review, we are looking at McFarlane's Monsters, Series 2, The Twisted Land of Oz. This is the Tin Woodman. I don't really know how to feel about the concept for this guy. It kind of is a lot like the Scarecrow for me, honestly. It seems like they probably could have differentiated him a little bit more, but the Scarecrow is the emaciated body with kind of farming equipment and sticks around him. This is not so much an emaciated body, but a destroyed body, kind of a zombified body, missing a lot of parts and then replaced with scrap metal. I think if you're really into zombies and steampunk, you're probably going to like this guy right off the bat. But let's take a closer look at him and see all the different things about him. As with the other characters, he comes with his piece of the Yellow Brick Road, his base. Still really wish you would go connect with the other bases, but what can you do? 2 pegs. Not too much more to say about it at this point. He comes with his oil can, because honestly, what would the Tin Woodman be without his oil can? Kind of stinks, he can't actually hold it, and it doesn't seem to really go anywhere on his body. You just kind of plunk it on his base. It does have a nice paint job. I like the sculpt on it, but the paint really, I just noticed just this moment that it actually has oil drip down the one side underneath the spout, so that's really a nice touch. He also comes with his axe, which of course he'd need for cutting down trees or maybe carving up some munchkins. Really cool design. I do like that McFarlane just can't give you a normal axe. It's got to be all messed up and wretched looking. Sometimes I feel like McFarlane goes a little too far, but details like this do make it unique. He also does come with chapters 6 and 7 of the story. The figure itself is pretty crazy, and it's honestly the most modern of any of these figures. He has a lot of articulation. He has a swivel in his neck. Unfortunately, his neck is perpetually pointing down, which kind of stinks. Though he does stand a good amount taller than most characters. I think both the Scarecrow and the Lion would rival him in height, but the Lion's head is fairly low, and the Scarecrow, I don't think anybody would look at him in the eye anyway, because he's getting eaten by birds, so I think it works. He probably would have almost an eye line with Dorothy if she wasn't blindfolded. He can swivel at the upper arm on both figures, giving him an okay range of motion there. He has, believe it or not, he has elbow joints. That's freaking amazing on a McFarlane. He also has this piston here that moves with the elbow, kind of reminiscent of the endoskeletons on Terminator figures, but I really do dig it. He can rotate at the wrist. Not on this arm. This arm has a fixed hand, but on a claw he can rotate the wrist, and you can open and close the claw, which is really neat. It actually uses a gear system so they move together, which I just think is cool. He can rotate at the waist. His legs, look at this. They can swivel, they can go out to the side, and I think you could get him to go forward, but the joint is so tiny, I'm not gonna risk it. But it's there. If you have one, you want to try it for yourself, he might actually be able to move his leg forward. He can bend at both knees, and at the ankles he can swivel and bend. I mean, right off the bat, that is a phenomenal amount of articulation for a McFarlane figure. On that factor alone is what I wish the rest of the line was like, because honestly, this was the first one I picked up when they were all in the box and they were open, but the first one I picked up and looked at closely. I thought they were all going to be like this. I was so psyched. I was like, yes, McFarlane figures with articulation. I could pose them all cool ways. I won't need to put them on their bases because I could make them pose in a cool way and have them displayed on their own. No, not going to get that with the rest of the line as you've seen so far. But this guy has some cool articulation. I do like the scrap metal look. I was kind of making fun of it earlier, but it does look good. He's got his big bulky metal pieces, especially on this arm, because this arm's completely missing from the elbow down. He's actually got stitches in his skin, kind of a Frankenstein look. And I guess that's what it is, kind of like a steampunk Frankenstein. He has a bottle on his back. I think it used to say poison. It's been rubbed off. I don't know if my figure had it rubbed off or if it was all supposed to look weathered like that. I can't really tell what this is supposed to pump into. Is it supposed to come out of his claw? I really don't know where he's spraying the poison out of. Maybe this is a poison shooter? I really don't know. I really have no idea where he's supposed to launch the poison from, but he does have poison. all kinds of cool attachments. Once again, I feel like that's what I mean by steampunk a lot too. Beyond just the scrap metal look, is I feel like steampunk a lot of times has stuff for stuff's sake. And he really does have that. His upper arm actually has metal piece too, so there's not much biological material on his right arm. There's a brace around his neck, this whole mask around his head. His head's completely obscured by the mask. It's a soft rubber, and you could kind of see that you could pull it up, and there's a zombie-esque head underneath. It almost feels like you should have been able to remove it, but it is sculpted in on the sides here. If you really wanted to destroy the thing, you could probably pry this off and take a look, but I really don't think it'd be worth your time. Down to his legs. His upper legs are pretty untouched. I like that he has all these hoses. They're really pliable hoses, which is nice. They're not like the hard rubber ones we get sometimes. These are pipes, but they're rigid plastic. This whole leg, you have the upper leg is flesh, and the whole lower leg is a metal, robotic looking. I like his taloned feet. That's kind of cool. I was a little excited. I thought it actually had a toe joint in here, like a Marvel Legends figure, but it's just sculpted in, unfortunately. This leg's almost got like a boiler around it. I guess the lower part of this leg's all mechanical too, so both of his lower legs are totally mechanical pieces. This one actually has a hinge over here, and you could open it up. Hinge it open, you could see all the cool stuff inside. It's got like a spring and a radiator looking thing. This foot's a big chunkier boot looking device. And you can close it up. I like the sculpting on the back here. Really good detail. You can fault McFarlane on a lot of stuff, but they do put a lot of detail into their sculpts. Or they did at least. Now they just make sports figures. So I don't know if those have detail or not. And I guess the last big thing to show off is the thing that I didn't realize at first and made me kind of happy when I saw it. He's got his little boiler unit on his chest here, the furnace door, and that will actually open up to reveal his heart, or whatever is kind of his heart. The one thing I don't like is that there's still flesh underneath it, so it's just a round portal put over top of his flesh chest with a hole in it. I would have liked more if the wound was kind of the size of the door. This kind of just looks like he stuck this on his chest to cover up a hole, but it was too big, and it looks a little goofy in that respect. But it's still really a neat feature that he has that. The Tin Woodman is probably my favorite figure of this entire line. He would work as pretty much any slasher villain in any horror movie ever. He's terrifying looking. He's really a cool take on the concept of the figure. I feel weird saying all this because I did kind of rat on it for being steampunk and just kind of stereotypical earlier, but it's cool. It works with the character. I mean, it's kind of the obvious answer, but it works. And I really like him. He has great articulation, if not feeling a bit fragile, and you can see on mine it is a little loose. I like his clawed hand. I like that he comes with an axe, an actual accessory he can hold. And the fact that he's completely asymmetrical is really neat to me. It's unique. You don't normally get things that are completely asymmetrical like that. Lots of original sculpting. The paint isn't bad. The paint's kind of... it's there. It's serviceable. Serviceable paint is what I'll say about him. But I really like this figure. I'm going to definitely recommend him. Probably going to be my highest recommendation out of the entire line. He's a cool figure. Now, this guy in packaging, I have seen running for probably the most of any of the figures. So, I think other people have my same opinion that he's the coolest of the set, because he's worth more on the secondary market, it seems. But, if you can find one, especially for a good price, I'd say pick him up. This has been another Outside the Box review. Stay tuned for more to come.